Hey everybody, welcome back again to 1881 Ranch TV. I'm Will. We're going over part 2 of the Toyota Tundra TRD Pro Overland build. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do that. If you haven't checked out our what is that? If I haven't checked out our Instagram page, he just loves me. Make sure to check out our Instagram page and our Facebook page as well. We do have a podcast up and running that's got a few episodes already in it. We will start the video portion of the podcast here probably in the next episode, that actually being filmed on set in the studio. And that'll also get uploaded now to YouTube, but that's called Home on the Range. Check it out on all your different listening posts and things like that. So we got a couple from part 1. We got a few questions right away about some more detail and things like that. Part 1, it was meant to be just an overview of the meat and potatoes of the build, right? Bumper, lights, how we're doing the inside and things like that. Not really getting into the details of what the truck is while it's running, you know, like a rolling outfit. So I took a couple minutes, answered a couple emails, and we decided to do a part 2 right away. And this is going to cover a little bit more of details on how the truck is really running, like so when it goes out on the road or the trail. So we talked a little bit about the Lightner pods before that actually go to the active cargo system. We love these. I love these things. Let's take a look inside this one here. This one is just my main catch-all go-to. This will probably get loaded with a myriad of different things. Used bottles, garbage, anything like that could go in here. For the most part, what I like to do is I like to keep all of our recovery gear kind of centered between here and here. Once we hit the trail, like once we come out of that. So here we've just got you know, your basic tow strap, our winch controller, 2 carabiners and 4 of the pulls for the max tracks, and a couple just a couple whatchamacallit, towels. That's where this is going. Okay, and then coming over, I mentioned before all the grip fists and things like that. So as we're getting ready to go, I figured, well, let's take a second, let's cut a part 2. So we've got some large grip fists here, and they're bolted right through into the Lightner. I can't remember what these are called, side panels, I think. And that's our Bubba rope. I'll have a link down below to where you guys can get the specs on this. It's a ginormous kinetic rope, right? Nothing really changed here. Still running our roto packs and stuff like that. The only thing I did want to tell you guys is we had to take these things off from time to time and go underneath them, come in backwards for the grip fists in the rear. Okay, so typically before the roto packs went in, that was all situated for the shovel and the axe over on the other side. Those were on the outside of the truck. And now that we put the roto packs on the outside, well, here, let me back up. All right, first of all, the roto packs used to be on the inside of the truck for safety, security. My mind thought of they're harder to get to over there. And they are harder to get to. So I didn't like that, so I moved them to the outside. Therefore, the axe and the shovel had to go inside. So we put locking caps on there for these guys, and then we were able to come inside. They actually put the shovel in here, and on this side, the axe. Now, I run a couple different shovels and a couple different axes. Right now, this is kind of like if these disappeared on the trail, I left them behind, I wouldn't be heartbroken. They're just a regular fiberglass axe and a fiberglass handled shovel. What I did do though is we have painted these red to match so that when they're left in the trail, we can find them easily. I spoke before about the expedition table. This is a pretty bomb-proof table. I mean, this thing is like, it's massive. Now the Lightner rack is really kind of cool because it has these really neat rubber channels up here, so that holds that down in place, and you can slide it up there. All you need to do is come back, grab a hold of this, slide it to the back, it tips down, and away it comes. And that's a solid table. And nothing, you know, if you're doing video production, if you're doing any type of hunting or any serious cooking, you're gonna want something like that. You noticed inside I had all of these cleats before in one of the other videos. These cleats, I take these on and off, scoot them to one side, scoot them around a little bit, turn them upside down depending on what's in here. But how I've done this is with a Gladiator cargo net. Now this is a smaller one because I figured what I could do here is a little bit different than just strapping stuff down to the top of the carrier. So let's open this up real quick and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so inside, well, I'll get to this in a second. So on the inside, we've got the tie down rails already set up. That's an option from Decked. Of course, you know, everything's an option nowadays, right? So stick those in and we've got some cleats to go in there so we can take this whole area and mount whatever we want back here and then strap it down to either corner. That's great. Now let's say we wanted to take this and do something else with it. Let's say we have firewood back there or anything like that. What we can do is just pull this up like so, put our firewood underneath there and keep it from going into the bed window and things like that. Another thing that's really kind of cool about this is we can take this whole thing off and simply attach some carabiners down here, right down into the deck box, right down to this bottom lid. Throw a carabiner on there or a piece of milk cord with a carabiner and then come straight up, okay, and go over the top of this bar and keep going forward and then strap that in. So if we're carrying, you know, sometimes you have something back there you don't want people just to go in and grab, right? And that way when you shut the door, when you shut the back, you know, the tailgate, then that would get locked in place. So kind of like when I mentioned before, the truck has to do a lot of different duties. It's not just set up for a film crew truck. This is actually set up for a farm truck, a ranch truck, my daily driver. It does a lot of different things, right? So I've spent a little bit of time, if that makes any sense, trying to get a system that I can pull this in and pull that out. I can unhook these very quickly, ball it all up, stick it inside that one box, and we're good to go. Pretty much that's all about this. This kind of goes in and out. This guy here, this is an antenna mount from Lightner, and that'll basically just slide into any of the points I want along the rail, the side, the load bars, anything like that. All right, so I mounted the rubber mat back in here, and typically what I do is I haven't trimmed this to fit yet, so that it fits between these rails on either side. What I wanted to do was make sure that I had a little bit of extra padding so I can roll this up on the side. So once these cleats go in, then our strap can come up this way and you can actually roll this to the side. This comes out really simply. It's a very thick piece of rubber. These are cow mats. You can pick them up just about at any farm and fleet or Schaefer's or anything like that. So really kind of cool because I can take that out, I can put it on the ground. If we're in some sand or anything like that, it's easily brushed off. That Lightner system is really kind of neat. I know it's rusting, but like I said before, we live in the Midwest, so this kind of stuff happens. I did paint them to match the truck at one point because I thought they're just too much black. But once we got these guys on there, that was that. Let me show you what we put in. Let me show you what we put in this pod. This is kind of fun. So we came by and we mounted our air compressor, our dual air compressor from ARB in here. We've got a length of, I think it's like 30-foot hose, something like that, and our inflator. So this is all that's running in this box at this particular moment. And that's run, of course, off the cab switch inside, so anybody can do that. And then when we're not using that, we just unbolt that, unplug the wiring harness, take all that stuff in. So most of the time, what's going on is all of this stuff will actually live someplace else until we're ready to go. Let me show you what's in the recovery side of the box. You want to see what's in the decks? What's in the drawers? I was going to save it for a second video, but let's cover it now. We'll do a second one later. Okay, so this side over here, I leave kind of as my go-to chameleon. All right, so this side is set up with just a possibilities box. Got one of the short deck boxes here. It's empty right now. So this is I kind of leave open so I can do a lot of different things. A tarp pole steaks, a steak hammer, things like that. I keep just a real, this has been around forever. It won't die. It's kind of fun. It's got a bunch of different lights on there. It looks a little, just a headlamp by Gerber, had some months ago. And then a nice pair of gloves. Also, it's in here because this truck is running around on properties and things like that and doing a lot of different things. This tends to be my go-to catch-all, right? So we got some straps and some cables for our trail cameras, survey line, in case we have to go someplace out on the side of the road. I keep these in their plastic containers so they stay nice and clean. Most of the time we're never anywhere, you know, that we need that, but just in case you have to change a tire, we've got a tripod down in here, a monopod, carbon fiber monopod, and a bunch of poles there, collapsible poles. I keep my duckies, my rubbas. Gotta have your rubbas, chief. And then typically I'll carry a machete, a small machete, a saw, and what else is in here? Oh yeah, I saw this on a loan and I had to have it. This is a Spetsnaz shovel that was using this. He carved stairs and all sorts of stuff. So this is just a really weird little shovel, and it's sharpened on all the edges, and you can throw it. The Russians will actually take this and like, wah! They'll give it a huck, and they stick it in trees and all sorts of stuff. Comes in handy for whacking down limbs and, you know, digging a quick little trench or something. I think I haven't used it other than to throw it around a couple times in the dirt. It's a lot of fun. I think it's got some possibilities, so I left it in here. So pretty much that's exactly what's living in this drawer. It's very mild. This stuff comes in and out almost on a daily basis. So this is kind of like, this is going to get filled up with, once we head out on the trail, this will get loaded up with cooking equipment, maybe some Lodge cast iron, things like that. So that's what kind of lives in here. Okay, let's get this guy set up. This one here is all my recovery gear. So usually this is left open, but I've been hauling around a bunch of stuff, so I've thrown some, you know, some whatchamacallit, some tie-down straps, some bungees. This guy is in here for some reason. I think it was supposed to be up in here. This is for water. If you haven't seen one of these, it's a shake, so you can put that in your jerry can up top and then literally shake this. It's an auto siphon and it'll start to work. This is blue for water. There's another one floating in here someplace for gasoline. Just a really nice master pull switch snatch block. Pair of gloves. These gloves are brand new, as you can see. I mean, they haven't been used at all, but what I really like about them is they've got a very big gauntlet right here and an extra flap for your wrist. Now these are MIG or TIG gloves. So back in the day when we were running steel cables, I watched a gentleman who was cleaning off his winch cables. We were putting it away, very experienced dude, and he just had a pair of shorty gloves, and there was a fray, a strand that came loose, cut, whatever, and it was hanging off the side. And as it came through, as he was like letting the line through his gloves and he's wiping off most of the mud and stuff like that, that spiral came loose and just ran right across the inside of his wrist and sliced him wide open. So from that day on, I used to have a pair of postal gloves and postal handling gloves, and they had a big gator on them like that. So a little bit easier. I mean, I don't want to be cutting that apart. So that's kind of why the gloves are sitting here. Now that we're running synthetic lines, you don't really have to worry about that kind of stuff, but you're still worried about certain things like that happening in the trail or working underneath the truck while you're remote. Here's the other line. This I've got a petcock on, and that's the one for fuel. Some you know, auto deflators, some extra nuts and bolts, some rags. This is where I keep all of our extra shackles and things like that. Okay, this will typically go on the truck the moment we leave home, because right now it's sitting with the trailer hitch, so you don't really need that on there all the time. In the wintertime though, I'll stick that on there and I'll drive with that constantly. An A2T strap from Vulture, and then of course all of our tools. Tools will sit in here, and that goes all the way forward, and that's where that lives. So most of this stuff will come out because I don't need it on a daily basis. So this will all mainly be clean and the tools, which are the weight, go up front. So you're loading again up towards the front of the truck with most of your weight, keeping it over the axles and moving forward. Okay. And then of course you've got to represent, right? So on the outside of your box is a great spot to hide stickers of all sorts. Don't want them on the outside, don't want it, you know, showing and things like that. So like there's little things laying around everywhere because I use ram mounts all the time. Here's another ram mount for doing different things. So if I wanted to hold my phone back here, I can simply take that off the dashboard, mount it back here, and while I'm cooking and everything, I can have my phone up out of the way. No smashed screens, anything like that. It doesn't get lost in the woods, left at a campsite, anything like that. This is a basic pack out. All right, so what would go in here is just my day pack and all my little personal odds and ends. Passengers, personal odds and ends would go there or on top of here. Camera case, very simple. That only thing that's living in here is when I leave are my camera bodies, lenses, and my support. Quick battery charger, that type of thing. A Yeti cooler. I'm still running a 65 Yeti. They hold great ice. And let me walk you over on that side. And like I said, this is just a very quick loadout. You know, if we leave for 4, 5, 6, you know, like even 7 days, it'll just roll like this because there'll be some soft bags with our clothes, and that's about it. Said Yeti 65. What'll happen here is this guy will get strapped down with another ratchet strap or you know, a tie down there, like so. So this guy will actually get pushed all the way up like that and lay perfectly in that crack. This then will go right down here to the seat mounts, and we'll do that on the other side. And there's plenty of room to get in here, pop your cables, and away you go. And you still have plenty of room down in here. You still have a nice big flat area here, and with cleats underneath here, you can still put a cargo net over the top of this. So if you want to keep any soft gear there, jackets can fit right up inside here. And then of course, you know, you've got to put a bottle opener on this side, so you can just walk up to the side of the truck, pop a cold one, and then drain. You know, you want to be able to drain from this side of the truck, so typically I'll put a little piece of hose on that just so that it drains out past the door board. The other thing I wanted to show you was Scepters. So my last truck, my 4Runner, had multiple Scepters mounted all over it. And unfortunately, the guy who purchased the truck wanted the Scepters too. So I lost my beautiful red gasoline Scepters, but I still have my water Scepters. So depending on what we're doing and how much water we need is going to mean how many of these we're going to pack or take with. And they stack up very nicely, horizontally, right across the back, and they all line up perfectly. These guys will stand up like so, these guys will lay down, and we just throw a quick strap from one side of this here across them, and they sit all the way up against the bulkhead, so we don't have to worry about that. This will give us another 10 gallons of wash down water, which in some cases, you know, fill up the water port. That's one thing that's not back here. It's still on back order. We broke the last one, or I broke the last one. I kind of backed over it. Take your time while you're doing stuff. Don't be too quick. Take your time, you're not going anywhere. So these guys will actually hold extra water. If that came from one of the last trips we did in the 4Runner, and that was Death Valley, and I gotta tell you, it was nice having all that extra water. I think it was going for right around 20 bucks a gallon. I wouldn't do that to my friends. No, absolutely not. You mean the friends that didn't plan, or that didn't listen to me, or didn't read the expedition guideline book or anything like that? No, I wouldn't have done that. Just remember, pack enough water. There's vents. There's all sorts of hacks for these where you can put 12-volt leads, pumps down in there, and I don't like that personally. This is simple to do. I can stick it up on top of the roof rack. I can throw that water line down there, siphon it out, put a silcock or put a garden hose on the end of it, and it's gravity fed. It'll do perfect. They're black, so when you let them sit back here, they will heat up in the sun. That's why my Yeti is sitting inside the cab. I don't want it to remain, gain any heat or solar radiation from that. But these guys here running for primarily washdown water They've got a nice big cap so you can fill them out of a creek and just use them like that. I mean, look at that. I can fit my whole hand in here. You know, that's a very wide opening. Perfect for filling out of a river. And again, it's just wash down water. And if we did need to use it for drinking, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna filter it through a sock maybe, or, you know, maybe you got some coffee filters left over. Do that, boil it, and you're set to go. Don't worry about it. So I hope this was kind of informative. It kind of picked up when where part 1 left off. It's kind of like an, you know, a general overview. And this gives you a little bit more detail about how this rig will run between, you know, 2 to 7 day expeditions, trips, stuff like that. So this is pretty much what I've got set up. Remember to check out our podcast. There's a lot of different topics on there because of 1881 Ranch. There's multiple series of these videos. This one's gear and gears. And then there's another one for cocktails and trailside cuisine and things like that. So off the back of the truck, the next video you guys are gonna see is probably how we outfit and travel with a rolling kitchen. All right, so a little bit more of the Overland gourmet type thing. And then we'll be having some recipes and things like that. Cool? So, till next time, stay safe, pay attention to what you're doing, and I'll check you guys later. See you later.